Welcome to ProjectME, the podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Carter, the founder of ProjectME, multimillionaire entrepreneur, former TV newscaster, money-making expert, female empowerment speaker, and self-proclaimed office supply addict. My mission is to take the mystery out of making big money. Every week on ProjectME, the podcast, I'll share success tips, strategies, and stories from other entrepreneurs, experts, and millionaires, showing you exactly how you can achieve your most exceptional life. Now let's get to it. Welcome to ProjectME with Tiffany Carter, the podcast and posse. I'm your host, Tiffany, and get your coffees ready, get your damn celery juice. Absolutely no pumpkin spice anything, but get it ready because some deep tea is about to be spilled. I have no idea how this guest of mine, this incredible woman, we have crossed paths, but never really met and never talked for years now. I've had multiple people in the industry say, you guys are cut from the same cloth. Like you guys need your own YouTube series over and over again. And I always just say things are in divine timing. This was the perfect timing to have her on. Those of you who are in the fitness, wellness, and health space, I'm sure are familiar with her. I have on today Kathy Savage. She is the OG media pioneer, brand aficionado behind big names like Lori Harder. She's the person who helped set the foundation of finding that sweet spot in a very highly saturated industry. There's no more highly saturated industry than fitness and health since the beginning of time. And this woman has an incredible ability to make sure that you stand out in this highly saturated space, but in a place coming from integrity and from a place that you really want to be coming from, not just what you think people will pay you for or what will get the likes, because she's not about that. Kathy is also fellow obsessed lover with Hallmark Christmas movies. And that's really what I want to talk about first. So here's my question for you, Kathy. Now we know Lifetime has their own Christmas movies. Are we open to Lifetime Christmas movies, or are you more so focused on the Hallmark Christmas movies?
Well, thank you for that beautiful introduction. First of all, I feel the same way about you. You're like a soul sister from another parallel universe. So happy to be here. I am open, but I must stay loyal to the Hallmark brand. I don't know if I can cheat on Hallmark with Lifetime. I just don't know if I can handle it, Tiffany.
So what is it that you love? This is important shit, you guys. Okay. What is it that you love about these Hallmark Christmas movies? Because I know for me, life is so serious, especially now it's so heavy, and you're guaranteed to be delighted. I'm guaranteed to see a rugged, rich lumberjack who has a large trust fund. Like it's a guarantee.
Yes. They're wildly attractive. Everyone is wildly attractive, from the parents to the woman to the man. Everybody is attractive, but it's happiness in human form. It's serotonin that just sparkles over you. And as you said, the world is so heavy that I like knowing what's going to happen at the end. I like that.
Which we know they're going to kiss. Period.
And then the camera pans out. Yeah.
Right. And no tongue. But it never gets old to me. It never gets old. It's like, I always go, oh my God, are they going to kiss? Maybe this will be like one of the movies where they don't kiss.
That's not going to happen.
Right.
It's the storyboard of Hallmark. They have to kiss. And either the camera goes up to the sky or it pans out. One or the other. So I always wonder what's going to happen in that respect, but they will kiss.
It's the certainty. So you guys take a screenshot right now. I know a lot of you are in the shower, which is fascinating. That's where you guys listen to me. But take a screenshot, even if you're sharing it later. Tag myself at ProjectME with Tiffany. Tag Kathy at Kathy Savage Official, and let us know all you have to do is put like fellow Hallmark Christmas movie lover. They even have GIFs, by the way, or so just so you know.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you can even use the GIFs. Like, we need to know who is in our club. All the new ones are out by the time this is aired. I mean, you can even print it out from the website. Like, I go deep with it.
Oh, me too. It's printed. It's printed in my office and my bedroom. And I screenshotted it, put it on my phone. Like, it's a commitment.
Oh my God, I freaking love you. Well, you guys are going to hear some serious tea about what it takes to really stand out in a saturated industry. Even if you're not in the fitness, wellness, health space, you're going to learn a lot here, because if you can stand out there, you can stand out in any damn industry. And there are so many myths and assumptions, and it makes me so sad, which I'm sure I'll cry, and you guys will hear why, because I didn't get into this niche, but I was that girl. I just wasn't making money off my fitness stuff. But if I see one more person doing the thong shots, doing the super sexy dances on TikTok, and that's what they feel that they need to do in order to get the views and the likes and get the magazine covers, it makes me really sad. And I don't specialize per se in the branding side of things, right? I'm a business strategist. I know on a business strategy standpoint, that's not fucking necessary. Nope. So tell us, is that how you have to do things now?
No. And in fact, it's not even an opinion. It's a fact. I have the receipts to prove it. It's like making a deal with the devil. So you're kind of in that notice me desperate arena when you're showing too much. People, brands, companies, they don't want that. And if they want it for the short term, because they're always going to find someone prettier with a better body. So it's kind of like making a deal with the devil, because if you get a lot of likes, and I see it, like, let's be honest, like, don't go to the gym and do your hip thrusts. You want likes, you want all those things. Smart, savvy brands can see through it. Now, when I say that, you might say, well, Kathy, I feel like I have to do that because the only posts that I make, those are the ones that get the likes. But what are those likes? Are they German guys like wanting to wrestle you? Because that's who they are. They're perverts. Go look and see who's following you. And so it's really not about the likes, as we know. It's about the engagement. It's about who is following you and whether they are a person that you could do business with. The perverts and the weird guys following you, those thousands and thousands of likes, aren't going to solidify your brand at all. So women have to get over that. And it brings us back to high school with the likes and the notice me. But I have the receipts to prove that if you really follow your worthiness and the value of your brand identity, you can turn your fitness brand into a thriving business. And again, you just have to be patient and you have to be cerebral. There is nothing worse than a woman who cannot stand up for herself with her brain and has to use kind of her butt to make a point. So I've been against it from day one. It's cost me television work. It's cost me opportunities in magazines to be so outspoken about the over-sexualization in the industry that I love. So, it doesn't bother me though, because those opportunities weren't for me. I didn't go to college. I didn't do all of my educational work to be a pimp. And that's what I kind of would be if I followed where the industry was going.
Absolutely.
Instead,
if you were sitting here saying, well, okay, we've got to show, skin cells, we've got to do this and that. Yeah, you are contributing to this epidemic. What breaks my heart, and I hear what a lot of you are thinking right now. They're going, this is what you guys are thinking. But Tiffany, what about, I'm not going to name names, but what about like this person who her YouTube channel has millions of people. And then she joined a network marketing company off those millions of people. And she's making all this money. And the reason why she has all those subscribers is because she wears these like sexy outfits and does her workouts with the perfectly ethnically ambiguous tan and hair extensions. So there is evidence. It seems as though there's evidence of women being very successful in sexualizing themselves online.
There is, but it's yesterday's news. So you can have it for a hot minute, but then what happens? And when you characterize your brand as that sexy look, 20-year-old Felicia is coming up the bend and she's going to replace you. And that's what happens. I remember the old days, the good old days where I would be negotiating contracts, like as if I was a freaking lawyer. Like, why am I negotiating contracts for women with supplement companies? And some of them were really good companies and they paid a lot of money. And you know what would happen 6 months later or a year later? They hired someone younger. They hired someone who looked a little different. Your looks are so short-lived, so you cannot build a sustainable business or a sustainable brand based on your looks. You just can't. You just can't. And if you do, so let's take that example that you just said. So you get into a network marketing company, you have all these likes. Well, that kind of pigeonholes you for other potential things down the line. So I want people to work on the uniqueness of their brand. Yes, being fit is part of your brand, but there's got to be another avenue. And you've got to, and that's what Lori Harder did so beautifully. She really protected her brand not being so one-dimensional. And there's so many more like Lori. Jess Glazer, another girl that I worked with right at the beginning, didn't go that route and really just kind of pivoted to more of a business strategist. And she's doing great. I mean, there's a ton of them. There's a ton of them who didn't rely on the physical to make their business a success.
Yeah, because I've shared many times on this show, given that I am a recovered exercise addict, which I still work on, but I know this world very well, and I'm going to speak bluntly, and it might upset some of you, but it's true. The reason why I was so obsessed, I wanted to be the girl on the cover of Shape magazine, Self magazine. I mean, I had every fucking magazine. I mean, all of them, and they all say the same thing, but I had every stack. I'm the one who would tear out the workouts and bring them. I was nuts. And I spent hours at the gym. I was so fixated on it. And I was focused on that because I had a belief that if I just looked like that I would get the guy, the dream guy. I would get the money, like the world would open up. That was my belief. And anyone who tried to convince me otherwise, I was really fixated on that. I was really fixated on that belief. So you have to really think about what responsibility you have if you're putting yourself out there and you're just doing the sexuality. I mean, I am a sexual abuse survivor. So why I was focusing on the exterior is because I had zero self-worth, Kathy. Right. And I see it when I go speak at masterminds or I go speak in programs and memberships that are focused with a lot of like fitness entrepreneurs or fitpreneurs. The amount of trauma most of these girls have gone through. It doesn't have to be sexual abuse, but there's a lot of that too. A lot of trauma, and extreme low self-worth. It truly is rampant in that industry. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. I did my share of talking people off a ledge on a weekly basis, having worked with thousands and thousands of women. What you are describing was more the norm than the other way, to be honest with you. And I would go home, I remember every night talking to my parents and sharing with them, confidentially, of course, not giving names, but my parents, I just would always thank my parents for the sense of how well my youth was, how I didn't get into situations where I would have been taken advantage of because it was the norm that you're describing. And for that reason, it is imperative to work on the more cerebral approach of your brand. Now, you say that about yourself, which is so interesting to me, because if you looked a specific way, like let's just say the look of the boss babe, let's just go there for a second. I don't think you would be the person you are. And what makes you stand out, and this is why foundational branding is so important, I love to talk about it. The reason why you stand out is because you are so real. And maybe it's not the perfect package, but I would give so much to these women who have the perfect package. I would prefer them not to look as good as they do, because with that comes a story that you're describing. Mm-hmm. And that's very common. So, but getting back to the way you feel, I always say this, I competed, I modeled way back in the day, but when I was at the height of my fitness career, I certainly wasn't stage ready. And you know what? My cover models, my world champions never questioned my ability to get them
really?
to the top.
So you were not at the peak of your career. You were not like the unicorn body.
No.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
No. Nope. I would not be that. Absolutely not.
And yet they still, obviously, you became a highly sought after top in your industry without the, perfect ab lines and the perfect this.
Right. It was never about me. So it didn't matter. I mean, healthy, but I'm certainly not 6-pack abs walking around. That is for darn sure. And I'm in my 50s. I have had those ups and downs like everybody else, but that was never a question, because I knew my worth, I knew my value, and I knew what I could deliver. And so when you say that, I'm hoping that gives permission to your listeners that they see you, Tiffany, as this strong, confident, I don't care about any of this type of woman, but you're showing that everybody has those demons. Everybody does. And it's okay. But the important thing is to remind yourself of how many women you've touched, how many businesses you've created. And when you get on stage to talk, I can guarantee you no one is even thinking of that. They're sitting there with their notebooks and they're writing down everything that comes out of your mouth. I mean, you just did a mastermind, did you not? You just did a retreat. I watched it on social, and I don't think anyone was even, if someone asked them what your eyeshadow color was, or, well, granted, you were a lot of purple, so that's not really a good argument, but no one is looking at the things you think they're looking at. People are, and this is what's so beautiful about your business and your brand, that you have established yourself as an expert. It's not about those things. Yet as women, we do tend to go back every now and then.
It's normal. Yeah. You guys, part of why it took me 10 years to start this business, right? Like get in this online space, is I thought in order to be successful at it, and here I'm not in the fitness niche, right? I'm a business strategist. In order to be successful online on any platform, my examples, and this was only, 4 years ago, my examples were I had to be Polly the influencer. I had to have the ethnically ambiguous tan, the perfect body. I had to be on a beach in Bali in a creative pose with a white thong and have body paint on. I had to speak even my tone of voice is different. I just speak very ethereal or, that kind of stuff. That's why I was like, well, no, who's going to buy from me? Like I don't have a perfect body. Like we're lucky I've showered, which happened last night. I mean, I'm not that person, but you're right. the reason why my brand took off so quickly is because I stand out, because I'm not doing that bullshit.
You're not doing the bullshit. So you're not attracting the people who do just want that, because there are people like that. And unfortunately, there will be people who work with the 23-year-old Courtney. I'm just making up people now. Courtney, I don't know.
Courtney with an I.
Yeah, Courtney with an I, and she puts a little heart, and she runs in slow motion on the beach, and she's got the big blonde ponytail. They're not my people. They're not, because I want someone to come to me in full trust. I've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, burned the t-shirt. I've created all these brands. And the same goes for you, because oftentimes little Courtney, she is in competition with her clients, and that happens as well. So little Courtney now sees you as a threat. It happens all the time. No one is intimidated by me comparing themselves to me. And I love that. You know, I'm that mama savage. I think that's why it worked so well. And that standard that you're talking about, really, it's everywhere, but no one compared themselves with me. I was a category of one, as are you.
I love this. And what a great topic. Now, you want to see me have meltdowns behind the scenes, which I do. And I will have a meltdown. I did it with my last group program I did. And I was out of my mind, pissed off. And when I'm pissed off, it's very entertaining, and everyone on the beach can hear me. I mean, like, I'm crazy. And I was so pissed off seeing how many people were buying Polly the influencer, right? Or, Courtney with the I. People were buying this person's courses and programs that weren't even cheap. And they don't have the bank account I have. They don't have the receipts, like you say. And they're buying this bullshit. And it made me so angry when over here, there's people like Kathy, people like me, people like Tracy O'Malley, people like, James Patrick, where we have we're going to tell you exactly the real deal. Like, you're going to get an ROI, but they're buying the bullshit. So why do these people buy the bullshit?
Well, the people who buy the bullshit haven't done their research. So, and I don't know if this has happened to you, but I got an email probably a month ago, and it was the same thing. And she said, Kathy, I think I want to work with you, but I'm looking at fill in the blank. And I said to her, go with them. And she wrote back and said, oh, I didn't mean to offend you. I said, no, absolutely. You're not offending me. But if you are considering me, I'm not your girl, because I'm not an option. I'm not an option for you. So do not compare me. Go with the other person. Good luck. And that's not being offensive or defensive. I just know who I am. And I'm not going to be an option for someone who's comparing me with that type of person. Courtney, God bless. If there's a Courtney out there, I do not mean you personally.
They're always, every name I come up with, I always get DMs where it's like, but that's my name. It's like, listen, remember, my name's Tiffany. Okay. Like, hello. Well,
you know what?
There's a porn star with actually my exact name.
Sometimes I say Tiffany. Sometimes I say Tiffany,
and that's
with
appropriate.
The long blonde hair. I do say it.
Right. Totally.
But I think that people go to those people because of the world we're living in, and everything's aesthetic, and they like the look, and oh my God. They like the look of those people, and they haven't done their research. They haven't read, they haven't watched, they haven't done their research, quite frankly, because there is so many people selling stuff out there, and they have and I want everybody to succeed. I don't believe in clipping wings, but you have to do your research, because there's more fakes than jewels out there in the marketplace.
I mean, I think it's also the instant gratification.
Yes.
And the metrics people are, when we say research, right? People are looking at how many followers someone has.
Yes.
How many YouTube subscribers. They were on some magazine covers. They were allegedly in Forbes, even though they paid to be in Forbes. Like there's a lot of, right? There's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
So much.
And there's a lot of also manipulative talk where it's this over promising and making it sound so easy, which they have to own. We all do. We have to own our parts in it. It's like when my ass bought the shake weight at 2 a.m, right? You remember the shake weight?
Yes, of course.
Right. And I was like, I'm going to like be on conference calls and use the shake weight and like get ripped arms. Like I really, right. But I have to own my part. I went into fantasy thinking that I could eat Nacho Bel Grandes at 2 a.m. after hitting the clubs and the shake weight would fix it all. Right.
Of course.
So I think people do that in the fitness, the health space, in making money and in their niche, where it's like, well, she makes it look like, she just does some posts and a video and shows her workouts. And then she has thousands of people signing up for her membership.
Yeah. It's real, but you know what? My good friend, Allie Brown once said, just wait. The pendulum is swinging the other way, because it always does. So you have this era of the fake coach, this era of, join my program, lose 20 pounds in 20 seconds, get 6 figures in 1 month. The pendulum is going to shift and the good girls are going to be left standing. And the good girls are people like you and people who have been around, who have evidence and validation of their results. So I kind of like make fun of it. I laugh about it. And I'm just sitting back waiting for that era to kind of move along, because they're doing such a disservice to the consumer. And the only thing we can do is continue to be our authentic selves and provide amazing, valuable service and kind of ignore the noise that is in our industries. That's all we can do.
What do you have to say to the woman who's listening and is going, God, I'm not 25 years old. I probably got into this whole, online thing, even personal branding thing, way too late in life. I'm not some glamour puss. I'm even kind of boring. I'm not some exotic world traveler. I haven't retired. This is my favorite one, that I haven't retired my fucking husband. Let me tell you something, people. I ain't retiring anyone. They can retire themselves.
Yeah, don't ever do that. Don't ever.
I don't know why that's like considered like a thing. Like, oh, I've retired my husband. It's like, first of all, it's very emasculating.
Totally.
Second off, that's not my job to retire your ass.
No. And that's very, I get it. I understand it, but I tell women all the time, you want your husband working, you want your husband having his own thing, just like you need your own thing. And God bless my husband, but I don't want him retired. No. Love
if you guys saw Kathy's face, it's amazing right now. I am with you. Like, no. I mean, you guys take a screenshot of this episode, tag me at ProjectME with Tiffany, tag Kathy at Kathy Savage Official. If this is a breath of fresh air for you and you needed this today, because there's someone else in your audience who also needs this and the permission to stop the antics. Right. Yes. Going back to this woman, she's telling herself, right, that I'm not going to be able to succeed in this space because I'm not 25, or I don't look a certain way, or I'm boring, or I'm not someone who even has the money yet to hire some top photographer and take all these pictures. What do you have to say to her?
Oh, I love people like that. In fact, I want to work with people like that. And here's why. You have the secret weapon that no one else has. And that's called wisdom. So it's just like being a lawyer. The last thing you want to do is graduate from college and go right to law school. You come out in 3 years, no one even takes you seriously. If you wait, get some work experience, then go to law school, you're coming out in your mid-30s or even older, and people all of a sudden immediately take you seriously. It's the same thing here. You cannot, little Courtney, God bless her, she can never talk about her time. She can never talk about her wisdom. She cannot talk about 3.5 decades of award-winning results. She can't. So when you're older, you have to understand that you have a leverage that nobody else has. And that is called life and your wisdom. So a lot of times we use our own personal experiences to help someone. We can validate, hey, I was there too, just like you. Well, when you're a young aspiring coach coming out, and let's just remember, there are some wonderful, wonderful young coaches. We're not talking about those. We're talking about the other group. But when you're older, you bring so much more confidence, charisma, and life experience to your business. So to me, I always say that's your leverage. So I'm not competing with the young girls. I'm in my own category, as are you. And I think that's something that women need to really focus on. What is their foundation? What excites them? What makes them different? Who are they? Who do they want to show up to be? And I think something like Hallmark, totally quirky, but it's ours. It's our thing. And people are going to remember you for the quirkiness that you have. You dancing around. By the way, you're the only one that I like dancing. You're the only one. I don't know why, but
that's
you're the
what
only
Tracy
one.
says. She's like, you're about the only one that I will even watch.
Because you don't take yourself seriously, and it's beautiful. And those are the things that make people so uniquely charismatic. So they're missing the point of trying to compare themselves. There is no comparison. Physiology tells us that we're all different. So your job and my job and people in this space, we don't have to do any type of comparison. We just have to find the things that make us unique and not be afraid to share them, like what you do with dancing in the store lines, or talking about Hallmark, or all of these things that are very strategic, my friends, things that Tiffany is doing, or me, or anyone that you see that you love. It is very strategic. It is,
right. It's authentic, but it is strategic, without a doubt. Right. Like there is a reason, right, that in the podcast, when you hear the opening, that I'm a self-proclaimed office supply addict. That is true, but it is also strategic. I'm making sure it's clear that these are things about me, and you might have the same relatability to them. And I pick those things that are true about me and I put a magnifying glass on them.
And I'm clapping because that's foundational brand work. That's not find someone you like and model what they do. No, you have uniqueness that is only you. No one else has these things. So, when women, they might make the best darn brownies in the world, and they come to you and they say, Tiffany, I want a business. Well, I know that you're going to say, start doing a lot of things about brownies, because now you're going to be that woman who makes those incredible brownies. They're going to start watching you. They're going to be attracted to you. You're going to become a magnet, and then they'll buy whatever you have because they're in love with the fact that you make brownies. There's so many examples of this attraction marketing, this way of showing your quirkiness, your office supply, ninja, all of those things. No one can compare with you because it comes from your soul. So yes, it's wildly authentic. And that's what foundational branding and business strategy is. It's finding the goods, the things inside you that nobody else has, and making them so darn cool that people are going to remember you for that. I'm not going to forget that now.
I know for a fact there are people going, I don't know what my thing is, Kathy. I don't have a thing. I'm actually like really boring. Like I'm an introvert, or, I don't really go that many places. Like I don't have a thing. What do you say to those people? I know you have tons of people who've come to you and say that.
Oh, they all do. And I always say, you're either lying to me or you're waiting for me to compliment you. Which one is it? Which one?
Really? Damn. This is why your last name is Savage.
Because here's the thing. If someone's listening to you and everything that you produce, they're listening because they know deep down they're about to start working with you, or they have something and they know they were made for more. Otherwise, they wouldn't tune into you and they wouldn't come work with me. Like, Why would they even follow someone like you and me if they didn't know subconsciously or, just in an inhibited way that they were made for more? So if you have the audacity to turn on this podcast, there's something in you that needs to be pulled out. You do. So you're either lying or you are looking for a compliment. I'm sorry, but like that's the truth. So there's always something, but it is a deep dive with many people. And sometimes it turns out to be something that they never even thought of. And that's what always happens in that discovery process. I'm sure you see it too. Like I had a woman come to me, she wanted to be an online coach, told me her story. And I said, you don't need that. You need to write a book. Her story was with her children. It was so compelling. I said, this is a book and self-published. You don't need to be an online coach. She's written like 4 books since then.
Oh, wow.
And so she didn't even think her story was any part of her wanting to be an online fitness coach.
She probably didn't even think her story. She probably thought, I know my story is kind of a lot, but she probably didn't think it was that compelling, is my guess.
Right. So you know how that works. I'm sure you've done that with your clients, is through that conversation, through the discovery process, you end up talking about things that you never even thought were even the main thing. And that's why I always say to people, there's so much foundational work to do before you just run in and just start creating a business.
Well, then you won't make money. Then you've just wasted time, energy, money. And then that's when people quit or get burned out. You're pissed, you're resentful because nothing's working, because you've skipped the foundational part. You're trying to skip the process. And a lot of people avoid the foundational work of anything, whether it's your health, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a business, whether it's your skincare, right? People will avoid the foundational work, but the foundational work is where the fucking cash is, people.
It is. But then like, I look at what you put out some really good stuff today. You break things down so easily. And I'm going to just say this, I'm not complimenting you on purpose, but I just know the real ones. I've just been around so long. I can see where the validation is. You give out so many, I don't even know if just the organization of the way you present is different than what most people do. You're very logical, very sensible. And so if someone is listening to you and following you, there's a lot of that foundational work they can do before they even take that step. And I encourage people to find people that are logical and sensible, because there's not a lot. There's not a lot of people who do what we do that have that methodical tone of educating someone. You have education in your blood somewhere.
Yeah.
You do. You must. I don't know.
I'm a truth seeker, fact teller. And here's I want to get into some examples. So you guys can hear, I think most of you learn really well by example. So I'm going to have Kathy share some, and I'm going to share an example of how I ended up in the niche I am. Okay. Business coaching, like that's not a niche. That's an industry, right? Business consulting, whatever the hell you want to call it. That's an industry, right? It's something, but how did I make myself stand out? And tell me, Kathy, if I'm wrong with your foundational branding. What I did is I took note of all the stuff that irritated me in the online business coaching sector that pissed me off. Everyone from Tony Robbins to Rachel Hollis to Courtney with an I, to all these people, right? I looked to see what pissed me off, not what I gravitated to, that came later, but what pissed me off. Why did it piss me off? And then I came up with, because these people aren't telling the full story. They're showing the glory. They're making it look easy. They're making it look like it happens quickly. All you have to do is follow this 1, 2, 3 formula and it'll miraculously happen for you. And it pissed me off because what it did is it set people up to be in shame and go, I tried this formula. I took this course and did this thing and I didn't get 50,000 followers. And therefore, it must be me because this person is this guru. So it must be me. I must not be cut out for this. I must not be someone who's worthy of being in this space, attractive enough, smart enough. And that's what pissed me off, as you can tell, because I just got really loud. And that's where I saw was the hole in the market for me to fill, is looking to see what pissed me off. So do you have some examples you can share of when people came to in highly saturated industries who were like, Kathy, I know I'm really good at X, Y, and Z. I might even have the receipts. I have experience, but how in the hell am I going to stand out in this mass of people in this industry?
Well, you just did the landmark, the textbook of success, where you disrupted the market. You were a market disruptor in the space that you are in now. And I believe that probably led to success in where you're at right now, of course, because everyone's trying to be a sloppy second of somebody else. And that's what drives me crazy about when people say, find someone that has what you want and go for it. And I get it to a point, but what you did is you disrupted. And in branding, that's like the oldest trick in the book of really good branding, is find a pain point of people out there. So you had the forecast or the vision to know that there's a woman listening to Courtney going, I can't do this, or I posted every day and I didn't get any followers. You're the person who's calling the others out. And I love that, because from a business perspective, that's how you stand out. That's how you differentiate. You're the girl next door. You're Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is so good at making you feel that she knows you. And I use that when I do speaking engagements at my university, when I teach marketing. I always talk about that. You don't have to like Taylor Swift, but what she does brilliantly is she makes you trust her, and she makes you feel like if you're in the room and your boyfriend's in the room with her, she's not going to cheat on you with that boyfriend. That's you. You're the girl next door. You're the girl looking out for everybody else in this crazy marketplace. And so I encourage everyone to find that within the industry they're trying to be in, because everybody else is saying the same things. So for you, that's what you did. And that's why it was such an overwhelming success. Oh, Tiffany. Yeah. She's the one that's like talking about these coaches. She's the one that's exposing things. That's the beauty of your personal brand. For me, it was the same thing. I'd love to say it was a strategy, but it wasn't. It was coming into the industry of fitness when it first started. And all of a sudden on stage, these women are spreading their legs and sticking their rear ends out. And I'm like, yeah, that's not happening. We're not doing that. And the promoters of these shows would be like, well, that's the posing. And I'm like, well, I have 100 girls at this show. They're not spreading their legs. So you either change it or we're leaving. And they changed it over and over. Same thing with the magazines. I wouldn't let them talk about their weight. Why do you need to know how much Lori Harder weighs? What is she, a wrestler? It doesn't matter. Don't ask her. And then we would do that at all these fitness events as well. You're not allowed to, because when you fill out the form, so they read your stats when you come out. Right. I wouldn't let them put their weight in. So someone from my camp would come out and they'd say her height is 5'4", her weight is none of your business. I had the girls all write that, or not important. And for that reason, I stood out. And suddenly we became this strong Mama Savage brand of don't go there with my girls. They're not going to do provocative stances. They're not going to do those magazine covers. You're not going to take those pictures. I've pulled girls away from certain photographers. James and I have talked about this. It's just not going to happen on my watch. And because that's how I truly felt, it became my brand. But if I tried to be like Jimmy the trainer and everybody else, I wouldn't have had the business I have. So it's all about that element of disruption of something that you hold so passionately and dear, and bringing it to life with your business or your brand. And that is a recipe for success. That's textbook.
My guess is your girls, even though they put that, did that make them not win or not get covers or sponsorship deals?
No, because we had the power of volume. We would go into shows 50 and 100 women deep. We were 3/4 of the show. We came in with power, and these women knew it. And they looked better than everybody else, and they ate food, and they were friendly, and they were happy, and they weren't extreme. They were eating strawberries backstage. And then these poor other women were like, I haven't had fruit in 4 months. Like, what are you guys doing? And my girls are doing the Congo line. They're happy. They're healthy. They're not privy to that extremism. And so I made it very clear in developing my brand 30 plus years ago that that wasn't the way it was going to go down with me. So there are people in the industry of fitness that can't stand me.
I was just going to ask you, and what is the catch of doing this foundational branding and owning it and putting it out there? And you just said it, right? There's people who can't stand you, I'm sure, still to this day.
Oh God. I remember one show, a guy called us a cancer. We walked in with our little black and pink sweatsuits, and they were like, oh, they're like a cancer. And I went right up to him. Was not one of my best moments. And I said, I can, as someone who has seen people with cancer, I can tell you this is not a cancer. Mm-hmm. And he was like, oh no, I didn't mean it. You know, typical man couldn't hang when someone actually, went up to him. But I actually loved it because I was so sure of what I was providing. And, even today, long after those competitive days are over, so many women say, thank you for helping me find a voice and not making me succumb to what I thought I wanted. And for that, I don't care if Jimmy, the trainer with the big shirt and the back says trainer, I don't care if he doesn't like me. I know I made a difference. And I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yeah, you're looking at, you guys, not comparing and going, how can I emulate this person? Because this person has success. Let me emulate him or her. Look at the contrast, right? But right. It is something, I don't know where, if it's human nature, if it's nature nurture, whatever it is, but it's like when people see someone who's successful at something, they do start thinking that's the way it has to be, and I have to mimic that. I don't know where that comes from, but let's at least question that. Why is that the way it has to be?
Right. And I think if enough people like you and the people that work with you understand that in order to call things out and not be so afraid, I don't know what people are afraid of, showing up as your authentic self, whatever that looks like, is always a good thing. If it ruffles feathers, those aren't your people. They're just not. I would call out promoters for not drug testing. And you know what? They weren't my people. They'd get mad at me, and I'd be like, well, I'm not bringing 100 people to your show. Change your drug testing, change your posing, or we're not coming. And that's leverage. That's validation in being so hell-bent on your purpose and your truth that, people are going to either comply or they're just going to whisk you away. And I think no one wanted to deal with me. They just didn't want to deal with the lack of attendance. And they knew that I was like a freight train with my opinions and my purpose. And you weren't going to back down. You weren't going to waver. Mm-hmm.
I feel the reason why people are afraid to show up fully as themselves versus a representative, because I'm not saying you guys aren't showing up as yourself. I believe you are. It's like my YouTube videos that I keep up for you guys to go and look at. That is me, but it's a representative of Tiffany. It's newscaster Tiffany, which those have not made me $1. Thank you very much. Right. That it still is me. It's job interview Tiffany, newscaster Tiffany. It's not like I was being fake. Right. But the reason I thought I had to be the professional, enunciated, non-swearing, glammed up version of me for you guys to trust me and respect me and buy from me. And it was exhausting. And it wasn't fun. And this happens in fitness, right? You think you have to have the ab lines, then dehydrate yourself, and then carb cycle and all this crap. and it's exhausting and it's not fun. And that's why girls don't end up in show after show after show, because it's not sustainable. It's no different, right? In business or showing up in social media. And I was like, I finally got to a point. That's where my zero fucks given came from. I got to a point where I was, you know what? Fuck it. I can't do this, because otherwise I would go back to being a newscaster. It was like, what's the point?
Right.
What's the point then? Go and back and have a conventional job, you guys, or continue your conventional job. You want to make a business out of this passion of yours because you want to not just have the cash, but you want to have fun and freedom and help people.
Right.
But it is a catch to have to show up, because let me tell you, the first time I showed up, if you guys are really damn bored, you can scroll back to when IGTV first came out a couple of years ago. I looked like absolute shit. A lot of times there's no filter, right? There's no filter. I have my bathrobe on. You know, sometimes as women, we wake up and some days we're like, I look amazing today. And other days you've gained like 15 pounds overnight. Oh
yeah, for sure.
It's vulnerable, Kathy, to show up as truly as it's vulnerable. And that's the work I know you do so well with people. Is I'm imagining you have to kind of walk them through that vulnerability of really showing up as them flaws, the ugly, the pretty. Yeah.
I mean, it's so true. And to say that it doesn't exist would be a lie, but it's a normal feeling to feel that way. I always ask people, how long are you going to sit in it though? Like, it's okay to feel that way, but how long are you going to let it hold you back? Because there's so many stories. If you ask any success story, they'll tell you the same thing. It tripped them up a little bit, but they were able to shift out of it. So no one's saying don't feel that way. The question is, how long are you going to make it prevent you from getting to where you really want to be? And then that other piece is, and this is why you're so successful, quite frankly, is it isn't about you. You make it about your clients. So I always say that when people say, I'm so afraid to speak on social. I'm so afraid. I'm like, well, then it's all about you, isn't it? Because someone is waiting for your message. You do have a gift. So you're making it about you. If you're so wrapped up in your hair, you're this, you're that, get over yourself and just speak. That was my mom. And so it just carries over. I never really cared about stuff like that. I knew I had something to say and I said it. And I just really wish women at a young age would know that, because it would save us all a lot of, wall kicking moments of thinking we're not good enough. It should never be part of that conversation. If you really think it's not, if you think it's about you, then you're missing the whole point of why you want to even create a service to someone else.
I love that. Yeah, it has to be about the people first, and the profits really do come. But you have to have patience. And you said this early on in this interview. And I want to talk about that because remember, there's a team of psychiatrists and psychologists, not only at video gaming companies, but at all these social media companies, so that they have features and things designed to give us dopamine hits so we stay hooked into these apps. All right. So you're being like lured in by the likes and the comments and the views and all of that stuff. They want that. There's a reason. It's similar, very similar to why kids get addicted to video games, right? Like you get the coins and the badges and all sorts of crap. So it is tough when you see evidence, Kathy, of women, especially in the health and wellness space. I'm seeing it a lot in the healing space now. I call her Sarah, the spiritual influencer, where they're in this healing space, even things as serious as trauma recovery, which very much concerns me, where they're this like ethereal, magical creature, and they make it look like they just go and inject frog serum and have ayahuasca. And then in a 3-day retreat, magically, everything is okay. And their pictures are so highly curated and edited. And then they are showing skin. And I will say, and I don't know if you're like this at all, but I I don't know why. I observe my own patterns when I look at content because I
Right.
fucking
Yeah.
study everything like a freak. And I notice my own patterns. And I will say, those women, whether they're in fitness or they're in some spiritual thing, and they're beautiful, and then they're showing skin, and some of them are doing these like sexy feminine energy dancing. And I do watch it.
Mm.
I do watch it. Now, I am making a point to not feed into it and like and comment anymore for my own principles, but I was liking it and I was watching it, like almost mesmerized by it.
Mm.
And so I can see why, especially people in those niches, why they feel like they need to do more, show more of the body and do sexualization of their stuff. I will say, straight up facts, it does get a lot of views and likes.
It gets a lot of views. And let's face it, what you just described, when you were talking about it, I was like, oh, that sounds so artistic. That sounds beautiful. And that's okay. It's okay to love those things. But when it does damage to your imposter syndrome feelings, or I'll never be that, when you load that emotion on yourself, that's where the work needs to be done. Nothing wrong with appreciating the beauty of what you just described. It's when you kind of attach it to your feelings of self-worth, then we have to talk it out. I mean, again, you're so vulnerable, and I love that, because that's just a talking out. I would say something to someone who described those feelings as, well, how does this make you feel less than? Is there anything about that person? Or would you trade places with that person? Or, sometimes when I see people like on these exotic vacations, I'm like, God, like I really wish I could go away like right now. But, I've got kids and I've got this and I've got that. It's just not my life. But I always equate that to, why would that bother you, but not someone in Hollywood? So if Meryl Streep won an Emmy Award or whatever she wins, the Academy Award, how would that make you feel? Would it make you feel less than? No, because she's an actress and she's winning all these awards. Or J-Lo. I always say this, like, if Beyonce wins a American Music Award, do you sit there and say, oh, Tiffany, come on, get it together? No, you don't. Yet on social media, all of a sudden you're comparing yourself to Phyllis, the healer. Why? Why not J-Lo and Beyonce? I treat everyone on social like they're Meryl Streep, J-Lo, and Beyonce. I'm happy for them, and it's so cool when they do something awesome. And then I go work with whatever else I have. It's Hollywood. It's a highlight reel. And I think as women, if we just do the same, of treating this like entertainment, because a lot of it is, then why would we ever compare ourselves to highlight reels and entertainment and Hollywood? I think it's all the same. So I'm happy when someone lands their top client. I'm never in that mode or that state of saying, well, gosh, I got to step it up. I just don't, because I'm happy for that person and I treat everything like a highlight reel. So I'm happy for Meryl Streep. I'm happy for J-Lo. I'm happy for Beyonce. And I'm happy for Susie down the street who just got her dream client. And that's the state I'm in. And that prevents me from probably comparing myself with anyone. I want everybody to win.
Yeah, and I could see how when it's a celebrity, they're so far out of reach. It's like, the micro percentage of the population.
Mm-hmm.
But if you see someone online who, they're not a celebrity and they have, whether it's myself or someone else who has 40, 50,000 followers, they're not some mega millions of followers and fans.
Yeah.
And you see them as someone in the fitness industry and they're showing skin or they have a certain body, I could see how the thought process would be, well, God, I probably need to show more skin if I really want to get in this game.
Yeah, but that's like a Lifetime movie. Remember those Lifetime movies of the after school shows? You're probably not old enough for that. But, the girl would be from the other side of the tracks and she goes to Hollywood to get discovered. And she gets off the bus and the guy takes her in. And before you know it, she's doing porn movies because he's like, you have to do this to get in. And I always go back to that innate feeling of there's work to be done when you think that's what you have to do. Where is your self-worth? Know your value, know your cerebral tones, and those things won't even enter your mind. I remember when Lori she had an opportunity for a magazine that wasn't the right magazine. And we both talked about it. And we said, this isn't the right magazine for you, but it was a cover. And it was such an easy no, because we had done the work of where we were going. So these women who feel the need to show the skin may not have done the work long term, because I still see women, Tiffany, who are in their 40s and 50s, who were doing the skin in their 20s and 30s. And you know what? They haven't built a business. They're still relying on their skin, and it doesn't look so good. It doesn't.
Yeah.
So like I said at the beginning, those thought processes are short-lived. And if you want to build a sustainable business, it just isn't in your track, isn't in your lane. You want to build for the value, and you don't want to be an empowered woman showing what really doesn't need to show. I want people to be excited that you're smart and that you're disruptive and you're funny and you're quirky, because those character traits, they never go out of style, but the skin does.
Oh my God. I hope you guys took this in, no matter what niche you're in. And if you're still sitting there and your brain's spinning, I don't know what my thing is. I don't know what my thing is. I think I know, but I'm not sure. Can people work with you and have you help them uncover what that thing is?
Yeah. I mean, of course. I feel like sometimes people will come to me to get into really good shape, and then we end up doing something completely different. I have a program called the Mothership. It's very affordable, and we work one-on-one together. There's different levels of it, and it's wonderful. So we kind of work on deep diving into a lot of those things that are holding you back, whether it's time management from building and finding out who you are. Especially, you don't have to be a mother, but it's called Mothership because it's kind of the mothership of trying to figure out what's going to work for you. I do very few premier level elite clients with business, like brand building. And I love doing that because I work with them and then I hand them over to amazing business coaches like you, a business strategist like you. So I stay really in the deep zone of brand development, but I take all those considerations of how am I going to do this? What is my worth? What should I go forward in before they go through the process of brand strategy and building something extraordinary with someone like you.
So you guys can just swipe up in the show notes. I have all of Kathy's information. You for sure need to follow this woman on Instagram. If you love my stuff, you're going to love her. She's hysterical at Kathy Savage Official. Take a screenshot of this episode, tag me and Kathy. Let us know what you loved about it. If you're also a Hallmark fan, you've got to DM us basically. Like this is, we need to talk about this because we know some of the movies are duds. Let's admit it. Some of them are duds.
Oh, very few.
There's some that are duds to me where I'm like, it's like, okay, like we could have stepped up the acting a little more. And then there's some that I'm like, oh my God, I'm like fully transported.
What's your favorite?
I don't remember any of the titles because they're all basically they take all the Christmas words and romantic words and then like put them in a jumbo, jumbler. You know what I like the best in those movies is when they have like a childhood star that was like a childhood star, like Candace. What's her name?
Candace Cameron.
Yes, when they have her from Full House. Like,
yep.
Those are the ones that I prioritize.
I do too. Lacey Chabert.
Yes, I love her.
Danica McKellar. I mean, those are, yeah.
And you know why I love those girls? This is back to your foundational branding. I feel like I could be on the couch having a wine with any of them. And they feel very like they'd be safe and they're friendly and they're not too famous, but they're just famous enough.
Right. Perfect. Exactly. I didn't even think of that. You're right.
It goes back to that the relatability, you guys. All right. I hope you love this episode. Go check out Kathy, get a dose of just being your damn self and owning your spot in the marketplace. And I know you might need help in figuring out what that is. or at least having that validated. You might have an inkling, but you're not sure if that's the thing. Well, that's why you hire people like Kathy. Thank you for coming on and sharing all of your greatness with us, Kathy.
Right back at you. Thanks so much, Tiffany, and thanks to all the listeners.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.